Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. So we are here to talk about the Summer Work and Travel program. Let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Anna. I work as a non-immigrant visa assistant in the consular section in the embassy, US Embassy in Kiev. And this is Naomi.
Hi, my name is Naomi and I'm a vice consul. I work in the consular section of the embassy in Kiev and I adjudicate visas. So this year, as every year in the consular section, we adjudicate the visas for this work and travel program, the summer work and travel program. And every year we send thousands of students from Ukraine to the United States to spend the summer. And people spend the summer learning about our culture, improving their English, making new friends, gaining new insights, and meeting new people. And we get great feedback from people who've spent enjoyable and informative summers in the United States. And importantly, when they return to Ukraine, they have new skills and new insights and their English is improved.
Yeah, that's for sure. So when you apply for your visas, you're going to see both of us in the windows. So we are the best source to ask questions, that is now. We want to outline the major points, that is the dates for this year's Summer Work and Travel program.
Our interviews begin on 15th February. You can schedule an interview 2 weeks before the interview date, which means that today is in fact the first day for scheduling interviews. And
we also wanted to mention that we encourage you to please use these Summer Work and Travel slots. We have specific interview slots for Summer Work and Travel program. Please don't use the slots for regular students because it will mess up with our system.
The last day for interviews is the 31st of May, which means that the last day for scheduling interviews 2 weeks before that is May 15th. So we encourage you to schedule early so that you get a slot. I mean, every year we see thousands of people. Last year we saw over 8,000 people. This is a popular program. There's a lot of people coming to the embassy, so please schedule early so that you don't miss your slot.
Yes, and the program dates for this year is May 9th to September 9th, the same as last year.
Which means you cannot arrive in the United States before May 9th and you cannot remain in the United States after September 9th.
Yes, those are the main points. Let us start with the questions. The first one and the main one is who is eligible to participate in the Summer Work and Travel program?
So you're only eligible to participate if you're a full-time student at a university which is accredited by the Ukrainian government. If you're studying by distance learning, if you're attending a couple of classes here and there, you're not eligible. You need to be a full-time student. And the Educational Institute must be accredited, which means that students enrolled at university in Crimea are not eligible because the universities are not accredited by the Ukrainian government. That may be a problem for some students in the ATO, but I believe that most of those are now relocated. So as long as the universities are accredited, you can apply.
Yes, so we have a question here.
We've got questions coming in from our Facebook too. If you have just one thing, sorry, please feel free to send us your questions. This presentation is for you, the students, so we encourage you to send in your questions. Now, if you're an agency representative watching, then we request that you please transmit this information accurately to the students, because the best source of information is directly from us, from our embassy web pages, from this broadcast. So please go ahead and send your questions.
Okay, so the question from Maxim. If a student wants to participate in the program for the second time, can he go to the same place or do you advise to change the location?
Well, the idea of the Summer Work and Travel program is for you to have a cultural experience. So I think that the best thing for you you can choose where you want to go, but if you're going to have a cultural experience, I think it would be important for you to look for somewhere else to go and get new insights. And from an adjudicator point of view, we would be interested to know, we'd like to see that you were interested in seeing something else. So for example, if you had a job working on the East Coast last summer, then perhaps you'd like to look for something on the West Coast so you can learn something new.
Yes. Another question is from Andrei. Where do I get more information on the specifics of the program, for example, costs and dates and lodging, itinerary, etc.?
Well, hopefully we're going to answer some of those specifics now. Certainly we already addressed the dates. The interviews you can schedule now for the 15th. You can schedule until the 15th of May for the 31st. The program dates are 9th of May to 9th of September. Having said that, it is important to remind students that you are expected to start university on time. So if your university starts on the 4th of September, you're required to come back by the 4th and not the 9th. We have goodwill from our university partners and we don't want to start messing with them. We want you, the students, to come back on time and start. Same goes for your completion of the semester, the summer semester. If your summer semester doesn't complete until May 15th, then you shouldn't leave for the United States until you've completed that semester.
Yeah, that brings us to the next question about the grace period. Marina asks us, what is the last date when she can come back to Ukraine and whether she can use the grace period. If she uses the grace period, will she have any problems with the visa, applying for the visa next time?
Good question. So the final deadline is 9th of September unless your university starts earlier. If you want to travel, take a couple of weeks, then you need to finish your job a little bit earlier, give notice sometime in August so that you can spend a few weeks traveling. If you remain after September 9th, you will be unlawfully present in the United States. And yes, that is something that visa officers see and that the Department of Homeland Security see at the border. And so, yes, you need to be careful and yes, you need to get back by December 9th. Just one thing on the previous question about the specifics. Yes, sure. We'll try and deal with a lot of them today. Other questions you might, such as costs, for example, Andre mentioned, you should talk to your agency. They'll also have a lot of information on costs. And agencies get all information from us, actually, directly. So it's all correct. It should be correct. And we post our information regularly on our website, on our Facebook pages. So, and we have an email address, and we also answer comments and messages on our Facebook page. So if you have any, please send them to us. We will answer each and every one of them. So we have another question? Yeah, we have one from Alina. She is asking whether grades are very important in getting a visa. When we adjudicate J1 visa. Yes. When we adjudicate visas, we look at you as an individual. And yes, one thing we want to see is that you're a serious student. We are trying to decide, we're trying to identify the best candidates for this program and the candidates who are most likely to return to the who are going to return to Ukraine at the completion of the program, people who are going to comply with the terms of the program. And in our experience, yes, being a good student, a serious student is an important criteria. So we do look at your grades. We ask you to bring your grades books with. We would remind you that any documents that you bring are subject to verification. And let's also remind people about the list of documents, the required ones. So you will have to bring to the embassy on the day of your interview your international passport, your student ID. If you don't have your student ID, then you should bring the letter from your university stating that you actually study in the university. You should also bring your grade book. We will look closely at that one too. And you should also bring the list of documents that is required for J1 summer work and travel, meaning the copy of your job letter, the medical insurance, and the DS 2019 form. That is your service form. And also the DS 160 form, that is your application, your visa questionnaire. But don't panic, it sounds like a lot of documents. But the agency will help you they'll have the list, they'll make sure you've got all the documents that you need. As we said before, bringing student ID, grade books, these are documents that are subject to verification. We have seen fraudulent copies of these documents before, and it is something that we look at very closely. Yes. So another question from Olena. Hello, is it true that this year it will be harder to get a US visa for Ukrainian students? Well, I suppose that depends on who shows up to interview, because we don't have a quota. We don't have a number that we've decided to issue ahead of time. It all depends on who it is we speak to at the window. And if we speak to supremely qualified applicants, then we issue them visas. So it's true that we have had high refusal rates in the past. And the reason for that is that a lot of people don't comply with the program rules and don't return to Ukraine on time. So our job as adjudicators is to select those applicants who we believe are best going to comply with the program.
Yes. The continuation, actually, of the question from Nadia. Is it harder to get a visa for the second-year students?
I'm not sure if that means students studying in their second year, or repeat students. Let's deal with both.
Let's answer.
Okay,
both.
so a second-year student as opposed to a first-year student. Again, I mean, every year, if you're a full-time student at an accredited university, you can apply for the program. In our experience, we have had a lower rate of compliance with the program rules from students in higher years of study, which means although we adjudicate every applicant on an individual basis, we do take that into consideration. And then repeat.
The second-time participants.
Second time. So not sure if that question meant second-time participants. So if you have already been on summer work and travel last year and you want to go again this year, it's fantastic that you had such a great time that you want to go back, and we'll be interested to learn about your experiences. Again, we're going to adjudicate on an individual basis, so we're going to make that decision based on who you are, what it is you want to do, what it is you want to do when you come back to Ukraine, but bearing in mind, again, that we have had a larger number of students who are going on summer work and travel for a second or third time who are not complying with the rules of the program, and so that is something that we are very aware of and look at very carefully.
Okay, another question. We have one from Vladislav. Hello, I have a visa, I guess valid till March 2018. Do I have to prove something to the embassy? Thank you.
So I assume that means, Maxim, that Vladislav, that you have a valid B1, B2, which is a tourist visa. That's absolutely great, and you can go as a tourist, but you cannot participate in the summer work and travel program. So if you want to go on the summer work and travel program, you need to apply for a J1, but the fact that you already have a B1, B2 is pretty helpful in our decision making, yes.
Okay, another question from April. Did the consulate see an increase or decrease in the number of students who overstayed their summer work and travel visas last year compared to the previous years?
Yeah, the overstay rate, the number of students who do not comply with the program and who do not return to Ukraine on time, is something that we monitor. We're very aware of, we monitor it closely. Last year, even though we did have a high refusal rate, we also still saw a large number of students who remained in the United States. I can't comment on whether it was higher than the year before, but it was still higher. A large number of students.
The year before, in 2014, it was around 6,000 people?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess people are asking whether this web chat is in English. Yes, this web chat will be in English only, and the interviews at the embassy will be in English, because we want to check your ability, your knowledge of English before you go to the US to participate in the summer work and travel program.
And there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, in order to be able to do your job properly, in order to make a good contribution to your employer, we would expect you to have a certain level of English. And for your own safety, it's advisable that you speak the language well. And again, we're looking for serious students, so if you've put some serious effort into your English this year, then we will be impressed at the visa window.
Another question from Victoria. Do I have a chance to get a visa this spring if I was refused last year?
When we see an applicant at the window who's been refused previously, the usual question that we need to have answered is what's changed, because a decision was made that for some reason, for whatever one of the factors, we weren't able to issue a visa, and has anything changed in order to be able to change our decision this year? So that's really the question you need to be asking yourselves if you're going to reapply this year. Is there any new evidence that you can bring? Is there anything new that you can tell us that's going to lead to a different decision?
Okay, next question from Victoria. I've never been abroad before, so can this fact influence getting a visa? Well,
I think that, you know, I hadn't been abroad all that much when I was a student in university either, so we're not expecting you to have travelled the world. In fact, a lot of people, this is the first time that they leave Ukraine is to go on this wonderful program. So no, that's not particularly a factor.
Okay, another question from Irina. We have a lot of questions.
From Irina?
No, from just in general.
Yeah, we do have a lot of questions. Great.
That's good. As I know, last year was a year of refuses. Oh, that's harsh. So what is your forecast for this year?
So as I said before, we don't have a forecast. We don't have a quota. It really depends on the applicants that come to see us. That's the only factor, because we make decisions on an individual. The best candidates. There's a lot of information there. If you feel that the agency is not giving you correct information, we want to know about that. So please be and let us know if you have any problems.
Yes, and we know that medical students, it takes longer for them to get their education, and they're usually older, a little bit older than the regular students. That's fine. They can apply. We have a question about visas for journalists. Well, that's not
sure
very,
that's relevant for summer work and travel. If you're a journalist, that's fantastic. You probably, if you have the credentials, you can apply for an I visa, but not a J visa for summer work.